Before we get started with our jumping, we'd like to introduce our officials responsible for scoring around all of our FEI officials, including our ground jury president, Leslie Brown from the United States, along with Kelly Douglas, also from the U.S., Elena Kutney, representing Venezuela on our panel, and Malu Arambide from Mexico. Anderson Lima from Brazil is our FEI course designer this week here in Fort Worth. Dan Reed is our chief steward, also from the U.S. of A. Our FEI veterinary delegate is Mr. Ron Gaeta, also from the United States. We're going to take around a quick tour of the course here, which has been designed by Anderson Lima, starting at fence number 1 at the top end of our arena this evening. We have the Vitalized jump coming across from the west or east end of the arena on a diagonal toward the south end, with a bending line coming to fence number 2, the Split Rock Oxer at number 2. Then around the bottom, the south end of the arena, up to the east end, the ESI vertical up as they go to the north end of the arena. Straightaway line to the Oxer, the Pro Elite Oxer with the water tray beneath this evening. Then around the top end of the arena, about a 270-degree rollback to the first of our combinations on course, 5A and B. It's a vertical to a vertical combination of 5A and B, the first of 2 on our course here in the first phase. Bending line to the riders right again to the Oxer, the Longines Oxer, as they approach the south end of the arena one more time, and then a loop back to the Animal Vertical, fence number 7, and that will end the first phase of our two-phase competition. The time will stop, be recorded, and it will pick up as they go to the second phase, first jump, number 8 at the Lugano Diamonds Oxer at the north end of the arena. After jumping 8, they'll turn back to 9, the Split Rock Vertical, and then straight away to the Dolman jump at number 10, another Oxer element, our official jump company, Dolman, sponsoring that jump. Then after jumping Dolman, they'll loop to the right one more time, another line going up to the north end of the Coliseum, 11A, the Restylane Oxer vertical combination, 11A and B. And again, it's an Oxer vertical, one stride in between the A and the B elements. Finishing up on a bending line to number 12, the Horse Flight Oxer, right up there at the top end of the arena in our two-phase competition. Now, riders would like to point out that this is the two-phase special. You must complete both phases tonight to qualify both of your horse for Saturday night's Grand Prix competition.
Hello and welcome to Fort Worth here in Texas, the Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum for the Split Rock Jumping Tour's Fort Worth International, playing host to this weekend's leg of the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Series. Tonight's opening FEI class is a two-phase special, and we're going to see our 31 athletes and we're going to see 47 horse and rider combinations taking on the track, set by Anderson Lima, ably assisted by Nick Ranat here from the United States of America. Neither of them strangers to World Cup action or designing indoors, but this Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum really lending itself. It's a lovely big ring, giving him a lot of options. We're going to start out with Vanessa Mannix from Canada. and work our way through some of the top riders. Juan Carlos Garcia, a medalist in both the venting and jumping at European Championships level back in 2009. Erin Davis-Heineken from right here in Texas. Skylar Riley, Robin de Ponthul, we're going to see her. Skylar, who's had some very good results in World Cup action, including this season. Rowan Willis and Blue Movie, again, remember Rowan scored well in the opening leg up in Thunderbird in British Columbia. We've also got World Games combination Scarred Lens, Machu Picchu and Paul O'Shea there, former Nations Cup Grand Prix winners here. Christian Heineken with NKH Mr. Darcy for Germany, giving us another nation on the leaderboard. And start list of tonight's two-phase special. Caitlin Campbell, Paulina Delesco, before we see another from Vanessa Mannix. Of course, we've also got Tiffany Foster here on our starter field. Kristen van der Veen, bull runs Agape. So the scene set with the playing of the national anthem here. You saw, as we were listening to that, the remainder of our starting field, finishing with Peter Petschening of Austria, Rowan Willis and Wellington Grey Goose going towards the end of the draw as well. So Anderson Lima, Brazilian-born, an official of the Mexican Federation, sets the time and the course. 44 is the time allowed, 32 seconds in the second phase, and over fences one. Fences 1 to 7 in the first phase, fences 8 to 12 in the second phase. So next to go, and first to go, Vanessa Mannix. Vanessa with her own Kitting de Osier, one of a couple of rides for Vanessa, Canadian Nations Cup rider in tonight's FEI Power and Speed. Kitting de Osier by Winning Mood van der Arenberg. So that's down the first line coming from the Vitalize. And the Vitalize often causes problems. It's part of the Dalman Jump Company's stock that travels with the Split Rock Jumping Tour, and it's got that filler underneath that comes down in the point of the V to the ground. And it is surprisingly influential. It's turning back to the tobacco leaf double. And coming around to the last part of the first phase, which is going to be this Animo vertical, which will stand every centimetre of metre 45, the maximum specification for tonight's world ranking class, and on into the timed second section. Now, it's a two-phase special, so everyone progresses, but Vanessa goes through on the clear. Pretty prompt, but it's so difficult going early on in these classes, knowing, of course, you've got the likes of, Tiffany Foster, Connor Swale behind you. Clear in 26.70. It's a nice double clear to get us underway for Vanessa Mannix and Kitting de Ozier. And we'll see how much faster we get as we go on through the starting draw of this FEI Power and Speed. So Peter Petchening is going to be our next to go. Again, a multiple rider in this competition. Peter is going to bring forward, first of all, Wannabe CS from the Petchening Show Jumping LLC program, a 9-year-old by Varant from the Danish Warm Blood stud book. So Peter and Wannabe getting underway. Again, the nature. It's an old-fashioned name for the two-phase Power and Speed, but it is very indicative of what they're expected to do. The first phase set up with these long lines, very much like the first round of a classic format, a jump-off, and looking for a little bit of scope, a little bit of power, and then it's the speed, and you can see that those fences come up. It's much shorter, it's a little bit quicker. Hopefully there's a bit of an inside turn for them to take as well, but there are two formats, one where you could have faults in the first round and you don't get to take on the speed, but this is a great exercise for the horses at the beginning of their international week. And this is another one going through with 0 from the first phase anyway, just showing that between this surface and Anderson's course, we're set with these international horses for a good week ahead of us. I think we're going to be seeing some excellent jumping here over the course of this Fort Worth International. Heading on towards home, it's 26.70 to beat. Is it possible? It's going to be very, very close. 26.58, it is close. It's just 0.12 of a second faster, but Peter Petchening and Wannabe are faster. So 26.58 becomes the new time to beat in our meter 45 FEI opener. Juan Carlos Garcia is our next to go for Italy with Captain Jack. So Juan Carlos has been a medalist at Continental Championship level in both eventing and in show jumping, and he did the double in 2009. He was on both Italian teams that year, and they both ended up taking team medals at their respective championships. Riding the entry of Podin Farms here, Captain Jack, of course, we've seen with in the past with Emily Moffat of Podin Farms. Juan Carlos Garcia and Captain Jack. We'll see if they can be double clear as well on opening day of the show. So on into the second phase. And we're going to see some traditional Italian speed here from Juan Carlos Garcia. First to his rides, Captain Jack. Just coming down, looking at the final line. He gets a nice short turn, a short approach to the Wrestling Kiss. Just gets in a little bit of trouble across that back rail, but it stays in place. But he gave it a good old jangle in the cups. A little bit slower, 27.93, but it's double clear for Juan Carlos Garcia. Again, everyone just getting a nice round of jumping onto their belts so far here. Really great prelude to the week ahead for these first few riders. Well, next to go with October Hill Sales Limited's Leone by Leo Van Vels. This is Aaron Davis Heineken, Aaron for the United States of America. Partnered with the Split Rock Jumping Tour to help bring this World Cup level of show jumping here to Fort Worth, to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. And this Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum. Aaron already just had the head and eyes over, looking for the left turn down to the Split Rock. Jumping towards the in-gate in those quite glossy black rails. They're interesting to see fences that we're so used to seeing outdoors on the Split Rock Jumping Tour coming in, and the variety of influences they've had in those glossy black rails. Particularly, a lot of designers use those Split Rock Jumping Tour coloured rails down a triple combination, and they really seem to fill the horse's eye, those solid black colours. The Longines down here towards the end of the first phase as well. So going to finish the first phase with a minimum of 8 faults, but they still progress. And one of the reasons why they'll carry on is by finishing both phases here tonight, the horse is qualified for the rider to use in the World Cup qualifier on Saturday night. We have fewer riders than 40 at the show, so all who are eligible to ride World Cup may do so as long as they have completed the first round of a Table A competition. And under the format, it is in a 2-phase special. That is, both phases must count. So it's 8 faults for Aaron Davis Heineken and Leone in a time of 30.42 in the second phase. Aaron Davis Heineken, Leone. So another nation represented here with us at Fort Worth is Australia. We welcome forward Katie Laurie with Dalco Limited and Eddie Nuquelon's Cos van Heijster by Bremazine Adorado, out of a mare by Contact van der Heffing, this one from the Belgian Warm Blood stud book. So again, Katie, got a couple of rides here. People making the pre-Christmas trip out here to Texas, going to make it worth their while, bringing a couple each. Very few riders here just with the single horse. And of course, for some, it's the opportunity to maybe tie up their place at the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Finals in Leipzig this weekend, because with now just 7 legs in the rejuvenated and revamped North American League, and with 50% of the results to count, those who've had an excellent start to the season can slightly rest on their laurels, but for some, this weekend could also propel them into contention and start to make them look at their calendar for the spring season about a trip maybe to Puebla in Mexico, maybe to Live Oak International in Ocala, Florida. And how often have we been at Live Oak and seen that nothing less than a win will take somebody to the World Cup Finals, and that's exactly what they've done. But Katie Laurie is going to be clear, and she's our fastest, 24.96, a good bit faster. She's about 1.5 seconds to the good of Peter Petschenig. So Australia takes over the lead from Austria. Jordan Gilchrist with Martin Huygens Serpico. Saw this combination jumping plenty of times this year, including at the Hampton Classic and Long Island. Serpico and Jordan. Myers Vivendi from the Irish Sport Horse Studbook. They will be trying to take on Katie Laurie's leading time now of 24.96. Jordan's just going to pull that rail at the end of the first phase, so goes through on 4 faults. We're going to take the Lugano Diamonds as well. Lugano, again, we see that so often. Lugano are tremendous supporters of the sport, so we see their jump a lot. And with those sort of dove grey rails, they can really play, particularly on the lights, on the indoor World Cup circuit. The finals, the Western European League, all play out indoors. The rest of the leagues can be mixed, and the North American League is mixed, some outdoor, some indoor venues. The Jordan Gilchrist will come home with Serpico with the last down in the first phase and the first down in the second phase for a total of 8. So currently into 6th best. We've got 4 double clears. Katie Laurie leading with Cos van Heijster, 24.96. Well, the tall form of Paul O'Shea there in the corner of the ring, just having a look at the approach to the Wrestling Kiss double. Paul with Frank Cunniff and the Machu Picchu partners. Skara Glen's Machu Picchu by Silverstone has been a fantastic horse, backbone of the Irish Nations Cup campaign in recent seasons. World Games competitor in 2018 and on the FEI Nations Cup winning team, the Nations Cup final winning team in Barcelona in 2019 that helped secure Irish qualification for Tokyo. So Paul and Machu Picchu just coming to the Animo plank. And again, just there's so much consideration in the materials for jumps. And of course, those Animo with the curving wings, the way he's used the plank on top of it today, but even those curling wings, even at this high level, they can make a big, big difference. So Paul is going to retire. Obviously going to run Machu Picchu in another competition, or maybe doesn't want to run this horse in the World Cup, but he won't get his qualification run out of this competition. So Hallie Grimes and NKH Kalango go next. Can we keep it LLC in the ownership of NKH Kalango by Calvados Z? So the Zangerscheide Studbook gives us this one. So that's our first time seeing the first down. I don't think it'll be the last in this big class. And as I say, especially with the back rail, that's sort of black and orange of the Vitalize goes down quite a bit. And we said a lot of it could be to do with the filler underneath at the very bottom. Just wasn't quite on a true spot there into the first of the tobacco leaf double, so they're going to have that down as well, putting them on 8. Going to take the split rock. Dalman Jump Company stays up and looking around towards the final line here, Hallie Grimes and NKH Kalango. You just say that overall maybe this is just lacking a little bit of power, a little bit of forward motion. Just making these meter 45s a little bit more difficult for themselves than maybe they need to. 30.04 on the clock, so it's just going to be the 12 jumping faults for Hallie Grimes. 32 seconds is the time allowed in that second phase, but no one caught out by the clock just yet. Skylar Riley recently returned this autumn from representing the United States of America at the Longines FEI Jumping World Nations Cup Finals in Barcelona. Skylar and Robin de Pontour teamed up with this horse a couple of years ago and has really just gelled with it almost from day one. They've picked up a lot of very impressive results. Riding for Catherine Gallagher, Robin de Pontour by Elf D'Or. Skylar just a little bit to the left of centre of the first fence. It means she really has to hug around the Dalman Jump Company on her way to Split Rock at number 2, but she just holds her line. Very, very definite about it. When she found herself maybe just that little bit off centre, she knew, I've got to be so precise down to the Split Rock now. And that's about the stride pattern, because if you're on the inside, you need to stay inside so you come up on a true number of strides. Because what she didn't want to do was sit back and try and hold a good horse like this early on in the round. She just felt Robin, I think, hanging on her a little bit. She pushed into that line. Just gives a little bit of a touch to the front rail of the Dalman Jump Company, turning up here. I'm not sure how conscious she's going to be at the time. It's not really, you know, winning this class is not really any great accolade for a combination like Robin and Skylar Riley. It's about tuning themselves up, preparing in the right way for the big competition on Saturday, and Skylar and Robin de Pontour do exactly that. They jump double clear, but 29.98 on the clock will see them in 5th place. Well, US team rider on so many occasions, US rider of the year on so many occasions. Margie Goldstein-Engel and DCAS. Gladewin's Partners LLC's DCAS by Diarado. Margie just loves these big horses. And she gets a great tune out of them. They love to go for her. Won so many big classes, not just here in the United States, but right around the world, being part of the Global Champions Tour, being on Nations Cups, of course, in Europe, and USA, great supporters of Nations Cup jumping, that team jumping competition. Consistently sending teams over to the big competitions in Europe to really measure their strength, particularly in major championship years like World Championship and Olympics. And, you know, it comes to pass. They are the world champions. They are the Olympic team silver medalists. But Margie's just going to have had the back rail off the Lugano Diamonds at the beginning of the second phase, so coming home on 4 faults. And look at the time, it's not bad at all from Margie. I don't think she was really trying. When she's trying, she absolutely flies. Margie's going to be 28.23 on the clock with the 4 faults, and with already 5 clears in the clubhouse, you wouldn't blame anyone for not going terribly fast if they have an early rail in the second phase. So we've seen just over 10. We've got 47 starters, and here is our next to go. Blue Movie and Rowan Willis. Blue Movie's a 15-year-old now by Chaco Blue from the Anglo-European stud book. Rowan owns and rides, and Blue Movie has been the horse that really put Rowan on the map. He had great support from owners in Europe. He was based in the UK. He went and took a couple of Grand Prix wins in the 2017 season over on the continent in Europe, and then made the big leap. 2018 World Championships were here in North America in Tryon, and Rowan came over that spring with the intention of going to those championships and doing his very best. He finished just outside the individual top 10, and he arrived here in the United States with a bang, winning the 5-star Nations Cup Grand Prix down in Florida. And just had success after success, including an incredibly consistent result over the last few years, many times over in the Masters Grand Prix up at Spruce Meadows in Canada. And this slightly fiery chestnut mare nearly only has one way of going, but Rowan and Blue Movie could find themselves in the winner's circle here just the way they go. $24.96 to beat. What sort of turn is Rowan going to have here? It's short enough, just, kind of 1.5 strides push to the Wrestling, and he's going to have the back rail off the Wrestling A element. Let's look at the time when he gets there. 24.52. He would have just done it. Rowan Willis and Blue Movie, though, with 4 faults, will go as our fastest 4-faulter. They will go into 6th place. 0.44 of a second, though, faster than Katie Laurie, Countrywoman, of course. So we could have had an Australian 1-2 here in our FEI opener. We'll see Rowan back. Rowan's got a couple of rides with us here. We're going to see Wellington Grey Goose from him at the end of the draw. And he's got Billy Gilder in the middle of the draw as well. Karma Godek with TaylorMade Cassius King goes next. The Cassius King is by Cassini. Karma owns and rides. Karma, who's been having some good results in our national tour here as well. So not the first phase she would like at all. 12 faults as she progresses on into the second phase here for Karma Godek and TaylorMade Cassius King. Going to be frustrating to have left everything standing in the second phase. And that will be the case for Karma Godek and TaylorMade Cassius King. 29.68 and 12 jumping faults for Karma. Another one for Australia, Matt Williams. Matt with Yandu, Pennsylvania. Matt and Brigio jointly own this one, 9-year-old mare. Yandu, Pennsylvania for Matt Williams. As I say, Australia leading at the moment, Kate Laurie. Australia with the fastest time over the course, Rowan Willis. Can Matt Williams do something special here now and try and keep the Australian flag flying high? Just 3 riders here, and they're making their mark already just in the first third of the draw. Back rail off the Lugano, unfortunately, just really flying up the hip. Front rail off the Dalman. Big Oxer here, but they've given themselves more opportunity. The people who've had the first part of the wrestling kiss down in the double have mostly been trying to come off that short approach to try and set a competitive time. Matt Williams will score 8 jumping faults with Yandu, Pennsylvania. You see going 8th best at the moment after we've seen 13 horse and rider combinations. Still just 5 double clears around both phases of the course. And Kate Laurie and Cos van Heister, the leader, 24.96. Well, our next to go has been a Split Rock Jumping Tour Grand Prix winner. And he has also, of course, won World Cup action this season as well. He won the opening leg up at Thunderbird in Langley, British Columbia. This is Gamble, ridden by Irishman Conor Swell. Asta Torokve owns Gamble by Vingino from the Dutch Warmblood stud book for the Irish Nations Cup and Championship rider Conor Swell. Conor ranked just outside the world's top 10 at the moment, sitting in 13th position in that world rider ranking, monthly rolling rider ranking, sponsored also by Longines. Let's see what Conor's tactic is going to be tonight with Gamble. Conor has Count Me In later on in the draw as well. Yeah, with his result in Sacramento, his result in Thunderbird as well, he's not going to need many more World Cup appearances to nail down a place in Leipzig, should he want it. The North American League, it's not about, oh goodness, it's not just about finishing in, the top of the rankings. It's about international participation as well. So we're actually going to be qualifying 7 East Coast riders, US riders, 3 West Coast riders, and the US riders declare whether they are a West Coast or an East Coast rider based on their domicile. We qualify Mexican riders, we qualify Canadian riders. Riders then like Conor are considered extra athletes to the league because they're not domiciled in the league, or sorry, they're not from the 3 league nations. So they must finish within the qualifying band. So Conor must finish higher than the lowest qualified American rider in his particular league. Which he will be comfortably doing at the moment. But not quite his round here. 16 jumping faults for Conor Swell and Gamble. Well, we've seen Aaron Davis-Heineken earlier on. We welcome now Christian Heineken. Christian, who of course flies the flag for Germany with NKH LLC's NKH Mr. Darcy. NKH Mr. Darcy by the great Ludo Philippart's horse Darko. Just had a little tap off the first and might just get Mr. Darcy to tidy up his toes for the rest of the class. Beautiful big scopy horse, but sometimes when they jump so big, you know, you waste time in the air, which kind of against you in a speed horse, but, you know, might be exactly what you want in a Grand Prix horse. Just got a little bit underneath that Longines fence, having had the first of the tobacco leaf verticals down. Of course, if the antics of the Ewing clan in Dallas taught us anything, it's that we're really an oil country now rather than tobacco country, but the tobacco leaves come from the home of the Split Rock Jumping Tour in Kentucky. So Christian Heineken and NKH Mr. Darcy will finish the round on 8 faults, and that's in a time of 28.44, so 9th best at the moment. We actually only have 2, Rowan Willis and Margie Golston-Engel, who've come home with a single rail, sitting 6th and 7th. Matt Williams is our fastest 8-faulter in 8th, and Christian in 9th there, as we just saw. Aaron Davis-Heineken on 8 faults sits 10th as things currently stand. Well, I say we don't have too many riders who've just come with the one horse, but this is one of them. Eilish Caniff with Graylish LLC's Vivaldi de Thiel. Eilish, a graduate of that North American Youth Championships program, sponsored for so many years by Georgina Bloomberg's Gotham North program. So clear in the first phase, a very well-ridden first phase from Eilish Caniff and Vivaldi de Thiel, making it count. Just having this one horse here. It's a shame, but they just went on the best spot down to that Dalman Jump Company off the Split Rock. So clear through the wrestling, going to bring home 4 faults here. But they've got in the ring, they've got some experience under their belt. It's another 4-fault at 29.27. But tonight, you know, one of the things about the first class in an FEI tour at any show is the different tactics, the different plans and routines that people will be on. Some people will be out here all guns blazing to try and win this class, because that is actually what their horse needs to set up for even bigger classes. Other horses, having jumped big the last time out, they'll have finished off over the Grand Prix. Just come in here to a meter 45 class, take it nice and steady, really have a sweetening time, as one of my co-commentators used to describe it, a real sweetening round, just to make them really happy and enjoy their jumping, ready to then have the courses build in intensity and in difficulty and in height. Those 3 things. It's not just about height in this course, it's about the intensity and the relationship between the jumps and the difficulty that therefore comes from that relationship between the jumps, and not simply the height. We're at the 4-star level, there's the 5-star level above this, there's the 3-star level. The Grand Prix at each of those 3 levels can be built to meter 60, but the difference is that intensity, that level of the competition, the niveau. Luis Sabino Gonçalves for Portugal and Camino Imperio Egipcio next to go. Luis, World Games level rider for his country. Just see Camino tossing the head a lot, but focusing in at the right moment on each of these jumps. Camino Imperio Egipcio by Coleman. On into the second phase. I'll say, for those who really want to try and win this class, I mean, all of these riders will have done this, but understanding and knowing where the timing beams are at the end of the first and on into the second phase, absolutely critical, because the nature of these competitions is that they're usually close behind the last fence in the first phase. So you actually then are going to be on the run for quite a while before you ever jump a fence with your clock ticking in that second phase. Well, unfortunately, the Horseflight is down. Horseflight, who've been great partners of Split Rock over the years, sponsoring their Fist Pump Challenge. Luis Sabino Gonçalves and Camino Imperio Egipcio will have that down for 4 faults in 24.90, a time that would have gone into the lead by 0.06 of a second. So Caitlin Campbell, one of our West Coast riders out of Temecula, California. There's a lot of good equestrian sport in Temecula. The Galway Downs facility in particular. Caitlin with SWS Training and Sales. Paulina de Lescaut by Périgueux. Say out of our 31 riders, we've done very well for international riders. Of course, a good US field, but riders from Canada, Australia, Italy, Austria, Germany, and Ireland, amongst others. We've just seen Portugal's Luis Sabino Gonçalves as well. So Paulina de Lescaut, 24.15 on the clock. It is very nearly a full second faster, 0.81. Caitlin and Paulina de Lescaut take the lead of this competition back for the United States of America. Katie Laurie for Australia holding the lead for a good time there with Cos van Heijsten on 24.96. But now it's 24.15 to beat Caitlin Campbell and Paulina de Lescaut, and we're not far off halfway through. Vanessa Mannix comes back to us. Vanessa was our first in the ring with Kitting de Auxerre, giving us our first clear. Vanessa now comes back to us with the Kotoki mare, Katinka. Vanessa's first ride, sitting in fourth place, Kitting de Auxerre, still on 26.70, but now she will be the first to aim at Caitlin Campbell's leading time of 24.15. Of course, coached by Connor Swell. Vanessa ridden the 5-star Nations Cup Tour in Dublin as well. Well, she was a student at Trinity College in Dublin for her undergraduate degree. Oh, very lucky there at the Dalma. The Dalma was doing a good job of coming down there for our rider's eye. Just absolutely stalled out of the turn there. So she's just going to really get a fire in her belly now coming back to this. Not going to let Katinka away with that a second time. She'll accept the 4 as long as the mare stayed in front of the leg, and now she's going to be very, very conscious of that in-gate, particularly later on in a round, later on this week. It's interesting how even we talk about it when we're analysing courses, talking about courses, talking to riders, even at the 5-star, the championship, the Olympic level, the in-gate. The social contract of our sport is that we're working with an independently minded animal. The horse is our athletic partner in sport, and they have their own opinions, and they're herd animals, and it's all about working within the horse's understanding and belief and creating that trust partnership. And part of that is that horses are herd animals. They like to go back and they know exactly where they've come from. They know where their friends, the other horses, are. It's through the in-gate. They keep a very close eye on it, and the riders always just have to be ready to say, come on, power away, stay in front of my leg, going away from the in-gate. So Vanessa there with a total of 11. Kristen van der Veen is our next to go with Bull Run Jumpers, Bull Run's Agape. Bull Run's Agape is a 9-year-old by Laval for the US rider who was a winner with us in Columbus, Ohio on the Split Rock Jumping Tour this year. Of course, Kristen took a win at Live Oak a few years ago that propelled her to the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Finals in Paris. That was back in 2018. And Kristen's horses, more than usually, named after a biblical verse or a Christian concept. Agape is one of those Christian concepts, the concept of universal love. Just pats the ground a little bit in front of that Longines, but still on the clear at the moment. So going forward on a clear as well. 44 seconds the time allowed, so not the fastest over the first round, but still relatively comfortably inside. 24.15. See, this is one of Kristen's younger horses, but my goodness, she can be hard to beat against the clock. She's going to go out deep into the corner there, but then she tries to see a spot. She thought she saw a good long one, but the horse flattens out and comes down sharp on the back rail at the Restland. So it's going to be 4 faults in 26.16 for Kristen and Bull Run's Agape. Caitlin Campbell and Polina de Lescaut still holding the lead, taking over the lead from Katie Laurie just a short while ago on a time of 24.15. So Jenny McAllister with the Swedish-owned Vicksburg Ceteris Petita PJ. Petita PJ is by Balu de Rouet, out of a mare by Kidam's Ruben. Wonderful bloodlines in this mare, Petita PJ, for the US rider, Jenny McAllister. Anderson, Lima, ably assisted by Nick Grana, has done a fantastic job tonight, because there's just enough question in this course to let the riders feel that they've really done something with their horse. But he's left a lot in the shot locker. There's a lot he can do now to really ramp it up. Tomorrow night's Welcome will be our first real taste of what he's got in store of the World Cup. But of course, he's got a 10-centimeter differential between the Welcome and the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier here as well. Meter 50 tomorrow night in the Welcome for them to secure their place, and then meter 60 in the qualifier competition on Saturday night. So just bringing the early 4 faults. One of the first to have the Pro Elite down at number 4, in fact, as they come on towards home. 4 faults. And that will be the total tariff for Jenny McAllister and Petita PJ, US Nations Cup rider Jenny, will have 4 in 29.13, sitting in 11th position. We're starting to rack up the 4 faulters, actually. We didn't have very many earlier on. We now have 6 clears and 6 on 4 faults. So the top 12 places held by those clear or with a single rail. Jordan Gilchrist, based out of Flower Mound, Texas. We've seen plenty of good riders from Flower Mound, Texas over the years. Jordan owns and rides Happy Boy van der Doornakkers. Happy Boy van der Doornakkers is a 14-year-old Belgian warm blood by Tinker's Boy out of a mare by Nabab de Rev. Happy Boy certainly looks very full of himself. Whether he's going to be able to offer Jordan the rideability. Yeah, just ran a bit free down that distance, so ended up just taking the front rail off the Longines. Just gives that a real roll in the cups, but back it goes to keep them on just 4 faults. A nice adjustment. You can see her really just sitting up and balancing the horse out over the vertical from the wrestling. So it's 4 faults in 27.70 there for Jordan Gilchrist and Happy Boy van der Doornakkers. Another one not just representing the USA, but representing Texas here in our FEI division of the Fort Worth International. Serra Caruso by Casal. Casal, that wonderful horse over the years for Ralph-Göran Bengtsson, the Swedish Olympic medalist. Serra Caruso, ridden by Katie Laurie for Australia, for Carissa McCall. Katie sitting in second place at the moment with Kos van Heijster, that very good time of 24.96. Could she sneak back the lead here with Serra Caruso as we get to the halfway point of jumping in this FEI Power and Speed opener? And again, if we were looking at this in the second phase, he'd probably set that double with the tobacco leaves exactly where it is, inviting them to do exactly what Katie did and go along the rail, whereas the winning ride would need to just be a 1 or 2 strides off the rail. And designers will make that sort of choice to lure people out 1 or 2 strides extra and cost them time. Oh, she was a long way off that. So Katie Laurie and Serra Caruso will have 4 faults in 24.75, a time that would have been good enough for second place behind Caitlin Campbell, but I'm sure that she didn't ride as positively as she might have done to the horse fight, having had that big 4 at the Wrestling Oxus. So it's 4 faults, but Katie's showing that she's got the turn of heel this weekend, the turn of pace that could turn into big success. Katie Laurie still holds second with Kos van Heijster, but with Serra Caruso becomes our fastest 4-faulter. Sorry, not our fastest 4-faulter in 8th. Fastest 4-faulter is going to be Blue Movie countryman Rowan Willis, sitting 7th. 6 clears, 8 on 4 as we reach the halfway point of jumping in our meter 45 Power and Speed, the opening international competition here of the Fort Worth International. So we'll be back with the second half of jumping in just a few minutes' time. Don't go too far away. Welcome back to Fort Worth here in Texas, and currently we've got Caitlin Campbell and Pelina de Lescaut leading the competition of the two-phase special on 24.15. Colleen Costa is going to get us back underway. Colleen with Caracosta LLC's Lancôme. Lancôme is by Eldorado van der Zeshoek out of a mare by Diamante Semilly, and they will show us a way around this Anderson Lima track once again. So on course with Colleen Costa and Lancôme. You can just see it landing a little bit right of centre over the tobacco leaf, which is just going to put them on a slightly shorter line down to the Longines. This turns to the last fence on the first phase, clear of that. Inside the 41 seconds time allowed for the first phase, 44 seconds, my apologies. And this then the timed section that really sets up people's results. Everyone gets to go through to the second phase regardless of faults. And then they're ranked according to their time in the second phase, so long as they complete the second phase, of course. This is going to be double clear. It's going to add to our ranks of double clears. It is going to be double clear number 7. A great way to get back to the action. 3.5 seconds slower than our leader, though. 27.72 goes 5th best. Hallie Grimes next to go. Hallie with Can We Keep It LLC's Ace. Ace is by Berlin out of a mare by Erco Polo. Hallie's second ride in the competition. We've already seen Hallie with NKH Kalango. Hallie just 19 years old. It's going to be the youngest rider in the World Cup Tour here with us at Fort Worth. As we had great results for young guns. When we think back to the Washington leg held at the Tryon International Equestrian Center in North Carolina in October. So it's going to be 4 faults, 12 faults for their first ride, 4 faults this time around, 27.01 on the clock, so 12th best for Hallie and Ace. They were starting to really rack up the 4 faulters now. We didn't have many at one stage, just 2 of them. We're up to 9 now. So top 16 places being held by clears or 4 faults. So Commander and Rachel Lindsay next to go. Another rider from here in the great state of Texas. Rachel owns and rides the 10-year-old Commander by Coupe de Coeur. So on into the second phase, still on the 0 score. The Lugano Diamonds, the first fence of the second phase. Again, even at this meter 45 level, I think only just over halfway through in the class, we've seen pretty much every fence on the floor at one stage or another. The Wrestling A element there. Rachel gets a good run at it. We've seen most people having it down when they've tried that short turn into the Wrestling Oxa at the beginning of that double to try and chase the time. Rachel going to get 4 faults in 28.06. We'll go outside the top dozen, 14th position for Rachel and Commander in that faults and time. Still 7 double clears holding the top spots. Peter Petschening, the Austrian rider, also based here in Texas. Peter with Brooke Peterson's Annabelle van Hest Poisthuis. Annabelle by numero uno, this 12-year-old mare from the Dutch Warmblood stud book. Another one going forward on 0. Again, this is not Peter's first ride. Peter with Wannabe CS with double clear earlier on in 26 seconds. Still holding 3rd place on the leaderboard. What can he do here now on Annabelle van Het Posthuis? This is, I think, the winning turn here. Back to the wrestling. If they really get that, they have a good chance here. 24.15 to beat. It's going to be a shade slower, 24.98. It is not only a shade slower than Caitlin Campbell, it is 200th slower than Katie Laurie and goes into 3rd. So 24.98 then for 3rd place for Pete Petschening and Annabelle van Het Posthuis. So Peter Petschening and Annabelle sit 3rd, pushing Wannabe CS and Pete down into 4th. We go to Juan Carlos Garcia, another ride for Juan Carlos. This is Neil Jones Equestrian Incorporated's Habab W, 9-year-old by Nabab Derev out of mare by Padinus. For the So Juan Carlos, to have him here, jumps the first line, just going relatively steady here in the first phase, but there's a good bit of meat on the bone in a 44 seconds time allowed for them to really make sure this first phase, and again, see how their horse is going, what their horse might need, what the best tactics going to be for their horse in the second phase. I was just say, the tactics of the week, it's like a racehorse trainer in the way that they place and choose the races for their horse to peak on the right moment, and really for these guys to peak on Saturday night in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup, it will be such a different path for each different horse and rider. So, just over 26 seconds, 26.05 for Juan Carlos Garcia. He's actually going to split Pete Petschenning's 2 rides. Enabel sits third. Habab and Juan Carlos go fourth. And Peter and Wannabe CS drop down now to fifth. So it's another clear, bringing us up to 9 clears in all. So second ride for Italian Juan Carlos Garcia goes onto the podium for the moment. Rowan Willis comes back to us. Rowan, who we've seen before Rowan with Billy Gilder by Billy Congo. So this is the second of 3 rides for Rowan. We're going to see him towards the end of the draw as well with Wellington Grey Goose. We're going to see Peter Petschenning at the end of the draw as well with one more. It's the Senator. Great draw for Peter Petschenning, having had 2 already challenge for the very top, whether he can make being last in the draw really count. Rowan. And this horse was bred through the Billy Stud program in Great Britain. Billy Gilder by Billy Congo. Clear in 27.47 for Rowan this time around. He had an unlucky rail earlier on with Blue Movie, but he's clear with Billy Gilder. 27.47 goes 7th best. Billy Gilder, if memory serves, was the horse that Rowan also showed in the Land Rover Puissance at the Washington International Horse Show. So Rowan and Billy Gilder, top 10 at the moment on a clear, and we're up to 10 clear rounds. Berlinda next to go. Alessandra Volpi owns and rides Berlinda, 13-year-old by the great Fidel sire Berlin. Alessandra just the 1 international horse this weekend. Berlinda 13 years old. And Alessandra, who's ranked just outside the world's top 250. You know, quite the achievement when there are, I think, in the realms of 4,000 riders on the Longines World Ranking. Alessandra would quite often be our youngest rider at the top level, just 21 years old, but 19-year-old Hallie Grimes is our youngest here in the World Cup Tour this weekend. You remember back to the days of Lucy Deloria being under 18. She would quite often win, and did 2 years in a row, I think, at the American Gold Cup, win the Welcome competition, but was too young to actually ride World Cup against all the competitors she's beaten previously. But of course, the Welcome is meter 50, it's meter 60. World Cup then on that final day, a big difference. But the young guns really do make it count sometimes. Of course, Brian Mowgray took the National Horse Show World Cup qualifier, in fact, the Live Oak World Cup qualifier, in the year he turned 18, the first World Cup that he was ever allowed and able to ride in. He actually took the victory. But it is going to be 4 faults in 29.10, top 20 for Berlinda and Alessandra Volpi as things currently stand. Well, another rider who's just got the 1 here, it's Captain Brian Cannan. Brian with his own and Glenbeigh Farm LLC's Vittorio by Van Helsing. Irish Nations Cup rider. He's been based here in the US for several years, but made his Nations Cup debut for Ireland, if memory serves, in the Middle East at Alain, but now based in Wellington Farm at Wellington in Florida. Brian, who spent a number of years as a commissioned officer in the Irish Army Equitation School. So he rides the first 4 on the course and then just elects to retire, clearly just getting the horse in for a bit of sweetening tonight, and is going to look for his qualification out of tomorrow night's welcome. Martin van der Herven and Maurice Hote by Eldorado van der Zeschuk, the US rider, also based here in Texas. Maurice Hote, the dam sire here, the horse that carried Philippe Lejeune to the world title back in 2010, Vigo d'Arsuis. So Martin and Maurice Hote just bringing 4 faults to the final line as they turn up to the Restland. Prompt across the ground, 27.18 with the 4 faults for Martin van der Herven and Maurice Hote. Will go just outside our top 15. 16th on the ranking as you see at the moment. 10 clears, 12 on 4 faults. So top 5, Peter Petchening and Wannabe in 5th, Juan Carlos Garcia in 4th. In 3rd is Pete Petchening and Annabelle. Koos van Heijsten and Katie Laurie for Australia sitting 2nd, and Caitlin Campbell and Pelina de Lescaut are in the lead in the moment in 24.15. Is that about to change in favour of Ireland as we welcome forward Connor Swell? Connor with Count Me In for Sandy Lupton. Count Me In, a 14-year-old by Count Granos. Good shot there of the Vitalize. You just get to feel for the question being asked with that pointed downward filler underneath. Just a full enough. I think, you know, Anderson's done a nice job there just giving them the filler and the 3 rails at the meter 45 level. So the horses have something to really read and get up over as their first jump, competitive jump in the ring. Turning up the final line, 24.15 to try and beat. He's good out of the wrestling. He's pushing on towards the last. Connoisseur does want to try and take this. He's just a bit behind. 24.50 will go into second place for Connoisseur, and count me in. So Connoisseur there, going into second place on 24.50, just waiting for our next to come forward, which is going to be Caitlin Campbell. Caitlin, of course, our current leader with Paulina de Lesco. Caitlin will come back this time with Féon. Well, Caitlin, interestingly, her horse number for Paulina, bridle number was 24.15, and that was her time. This one's bridle number is 24.14, so if she can equal it again, she'll go into the lead. So Caitlin and Féon is coming around to complete their first phase. 44 seconds. They used quite a good bit of their time allowed. It's going to be a step change required to try and be getting around in 24 seconds, and that's not the way she's riding Féon tonight. And in fact, she's going to retire after the first phase. So Féon and Caitlin Campbell, they don't pick up their qualification tonight as a horse and rider combination, but of course they're very likely to be showing in tomorrow night's welcome. But it does just mean that if things don't go the right way in the welcome, if something unforeseen happens and they don't complete tomorrow, she doesn't have the choice of this horse for World Cup. So Tiffany Foster back with us, Artisan Farms Vienna. Tiffany, who was the winner of the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup in Washington this year. The Washington event held for the second year in a row at Tryon in North Carolina, but will be returning to the DC metro area in 2022 as they go to the Prince George Equestrian Center in Marlborough, Maryland. I'm going to make good use of the nearby facilities and sort of nodal point of the National Harbor area. Just outside DC, I think it's Fairfax County. I could easily be wrong, mind you. So carrying 8 faults through from the first phase, unfortunately, so Tiffany will still probably just move up through the gears here, because one of the reasons you jump in this class is to just find out, where your horse is, how it's going to react to, the 4 basic things. You want it to go, to stop, to turn left, to turn right. And I want to try out all of that here tonight in competition setting. So Tiffany comes home 28.78 on the clock with 8 for jumping from the first phase. First ride for Trap O'Neill. We've seen Trap plenty of times, though, during the course of the day in the national tour here at the Fort Worth International. Trap with the TKO partnerships. Dollar Cash next to go. Dollar Cash is by Dollar de Mourier. It's interesting, a good angle there to just see the horse. Has the head and neck bent a little bit to the outside, looking at the boxes there at the lower level. And on Saturday, we've actually done very, very well for ticket sales for this inaugural Fort Worth International. And that could be full. That could be very buzzy. And where the designer puts things along the long side of the rings there, right up close to the public, that could be really influential. So one to watch, and interesting to see Trap O'Neill's horse already just looking over the Longines branding there at that and thinking to himself, ooh, what's out there? And then it's Trap or any of the other riders' jobs whose horses start doing it is to get them to refocus on the job at hand, focus on these top rails of the jumps. So just that single rail down, it's the Dalman Jump Company down for Trap O'Neill and Dollar Cash. 4 faults in 27.40. Gives us a baker dozen of 4 faulters as well. 13 of them now, 11 clears. And Trap O'Neill will find himself in 18th position. Humberto Quirata Gomez. Next to go, Humberto owns and rides Dirobanta. Dirobanta flies the flag for Mexico in our World Cup tour here in Fort Worth. Humberto Quirate and Mexico take over the lead from Caitlin Campbell and Polina de Lescaut. Leading time of 24.15 in this FEI opening competition, a two-phase special. We'll note because he's going to have the split rock down, not the first to do it. As I say, we've seen pretty much every fence on the course down at one stage or the other. Going to just lick the front off the horseflight fence on the way home as well, making it 16 jumping faults in total for Humberto Quirate Gomez and Diro Banta. So World Cup finalist for the United States of America, Kristen van der Veen. Bull Run Jumpers 6 LLC are the owners of Bull Run's Prince of Peace. Bull Run's Prince of Peace is by Cardenio. So Kristen just going out pretty wide here on the way back to the Animo to conclude her first phase. Now, what will she do with Prince of Peace? 24.15 in the offing. And Kristen, just such a naturally fast rider. She has won jump off after jump off, speed class after speed class. (24.15) to beat. I don't think she's quite got the legs of the class, but she's not going to be far off. 25.56. Kristen van der Veen and Bull Run's Prince of Peace are less than 1.5 seconds slower, but they will go into 5th place. It's incredibly closely packed there at the top of the leaderboard. 24.15, 24.50, 24.96, 24.98, and then Kristen van der Veen's 25.56. Peter Petschenning's Annabelle still sits 4th, but his other ride that was 3rd not so long ago, now down in 7th. Kristen gives us our 12th clear round. Second ride for Portuguese rider Luis Sabino Gonçalves with Equivaranda's Biloba de Shane. Biloba de Shane by Winning Mood van der Arenberg. So carrying 4 in the first phase again. The tobacco leaves, double of verticals up there at the top of the ring coming away from the Lugano VIP deck. Just causing the odd problem. Probably amongst the most influential fences. So finish their round of jumping. Luis Sabino Gonçalves will have 4 faults from the first round and a time overall of 30.03. Well, Hunter Holloway. Hunter, of course, who comes here as a World Cup qualifier winner. Hunter with Hayes Investment Corporation's Pepita con Spita by DSP Conspirit. Hunter, of course, is one of the riders coming to the top level of the sport, who has been a career Maclay medal champion. That was back in 2016. Hunter was a Grand Prix winner in Kentucky. Won a Grand Prix with us on the Split Rock Tour in Colorado this summer as well. And she's another one who looks like she's just going to call it a day on course here with Pepita Conspita. So Hunter is here with just the one horse and will run in the welcome tomorrow night, but the welcome is not necessary for a rider. They don't have to complete the welcome to be assured of a place in the World Cup with just 31 athletes. But the horse must complete the first round of a Table A competition, which tonight, because it's two-phase special, includes both phases. So Hunter is putting all her eggs in the one basket of tomorrow night's welcome to try and get her place in another World Cup and go for another World Cup win after that victory in Las Vegas. The Mexican Olympian Nicolas Pizarro with Pia Contra by Cantagos, with mare by Chaco Bleu. Just hung a little bit, just got right up in the air, but didn't really reach across to the back rail of that Longines with the watch faces. So Nick, just over 30 seconds on the clock and 4 faults from the first round for Nicolas Pizarro and Pia Contra. So just top 30 as things currently stand. 12 clears, 15 4-faulters, holding the top 27 places on the leaderboard. Second ride now for Jenny McAllister, Nations Cup rider. She rides LegisEquine.com's Legis Touch the Sun by Necton. Jenny was with us just before the drag break with the Petita BJ and scored a 4-fault round on that occasion. And Jenny just, like 1 or 2 before, maybe just in one gear too low early on. Could just do with maybe being a little bit more on the front foot, riding up to this course. Swings around to the Animo plank to conclude her first phase and progresses on now. So Jenny and Legis Touch the Sun. Be a relatively fast 4-4, 27.41. Jenny and Legis Touch the Sun will round out our top 20 as things currently stand. At 4 faults with both of her rides today. Sometimes that's the way it goes, a little bit of 4-faultitis. Another combination with just one horse, Caitlin Miller-Roberts, with Willie Matten's Giant are going to be the next to go. So getting towards the end of the draw, just 4 more to go. Caitlin Miller-Roberts, as we say, just with the one horse here. This is Giant coming forward to take on this course. Caitlin Campbell leads on 24.15. Could her namesake overtake her? The problem just with this bit of napping at the bottom of the ring is that the countdown is ticking away from them. There's just 2 seconds left of it, 45-second countdown, and when it elapses, the time automatically kicks in. So 10.5 seconds wasted, unfortunately, so they will still go through, but there will be one of the rare ones to pick up time penalties in the first phase. A element of the tobacco leaf, and again, it's about riding such a good corner off the end of the ring. Rounded ends to the ring as well, which can be quite deceptive for the riders, knowing where they need to make their depart and their approach. So 2 for time in the first phase. And 8 for jumping so far. Oh, I was about to say all their rails had been in the first phase, but it's going to be a rail in the second phase. 12 for jumping, 2 for time across the 2 phases of jumping for Caitlin Miller-Roberts and Giant. Total of 14. So Christian Heineken back again. We saw Christian earlier on with NKH Mr. Darcy. Now Christian rides another for NKH LLC. NKH Cento Blue by Centadel out of a Chaco Blue mare. For the German World Cup finalist Christian Heineken, based here in the United States for a number of years. Christian, who was a winner with us, actually with this horse, NKH Cento Blue, in the Columbus International at Brave Horse, Ohio on the Split Rock Jumping Tour last year. To date, the only German winner of a Grand Prix on the Split Rock Jumping Tour circuit. He's having a good scoot now as he's on into the second phase. Just has the front rail off the Dalman Jump Company. Christian just a little bit out of shape on landing as well. Does well to sit up before the horse just gets away from him through the right shoulder around that corner. And they have the front rail, unfortunately, off the horse flight as well. So it's 8 for jumping in 27.53 for Christian here. Pretty much on home soil in Fort Worth in this Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum tonight. So third ride for Rowan Willis, Wellington Grey Goose. Rowan, who's best clear He had an unlucky fall with Blue Movie. Billy Gilder was clear for Rowan, 27.47, sitting top 10 at the moment in 9th position. The Wellington Grey Goose bred at the Wellington operation in Hampshire. The Wellesley Wellington family. Very good supporters for Rowan over the years when he was based in the UK. I remember him riding this horse, Wellington Grey Goose, in fact, in the Animo Youngster Bowl a couple of years ago on the Split Rock Jumping Tour. And that's another thing that we frequently really showcase at these Split Rock shows is the stars of the future through the Youngster Bowl competitions. They get their day in the sun in the main ring at a Split Rock Jumping Tour most legs of the year. We don't have a young horse tour here with us at Fort Worth. But particularly important in the first half, first 3 quarters of the year, people are thinking about whether they might take a horse to Young Horse Championships or World Young Horse Championships, Lanarken. And Rowan and Wellington Grey Goose, they're just going to call it a day on course here, so they won't post a score in the power and speed. And if Rowan is looking to have Grey Goose as an option for the World Cup, he'll need to show and complete the first round track tomorrow in the Welcome. Peter Petchenig's going to be the last to go. This is It's the Senator. Petchenig show jumping here in Texas owns this one. It's the Senator by Der Senat for the Austrian rider. Now Pete has 4th place at the moment with Annabelle van het Posthuis, and Peter also in top 10, 7th best with Wannabe CS. Can he make it 3 in the top 10 here tonight? So we have our result of our first FEI class, and it's going to be a win for Caitlin Campbell and Paulina de Lescaut. So Pete Petchenig and It's the Senator will end up on 12 faults overall across the 2 phases of jumping. So 3 rides for Austrian rider Pete Petchenig, 2 of them inside the top 10 tonight. Caitlin Campbell and Paulina de Lescaut will be our winners of the opening FEI competition, setting the scene for the rest of the week. As a world ranking class, $37,000 in the prize fund. And Caitlin Campbell and Paulina de Lescaut taking the lion's share of those world ranking points and of the prize fund. So awards coming up here in the Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum, and of course we've got more FEI competition tomorrow with the Welcome that will set the scene for the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Fort Worth presented by Lugano Diamonds on Saturday night, and we also have an FEI Speed competition on Sunday. A full week of national jumping here as well, all available on the Split Rock Jumping Tour website, and of course all our FEI classes available through FEI channels. So Caitlin Campbell takes the win with Paulina de Lescaut. Connor Swale, Count Me In second. Katie Laurie and Cos van Heijden in third for Australia. Peter Petchenig, there's his best ride, Annabelle. Kristen van der Veen and Bull Run's Prince of Peace rounding out our top 5. Juan Carlos Garcia for Italy in 6th place with Habab. Peter Petchenig's second ride, 7th, Vanessa Mannix and Kitting de Ozier. Rowan Willis, Billy Gilder, his clear round. Colina Costa, Lancôme, Juan Carlos there with another one inside the top 12. 2 clears for Juan Carlos tonight. Skylar Riley and Robin de Ponthul. clear in 29.98 to take 12th, and that is our final ranked clear round. Rowan Willis and Blue Movie were our fastest 4-faulter, and you see on down the line another one like Kirsten van der Veen, Bull Runs Agape, Hallie Grimes at ace, Martin van der Herven from here in Texas, and Maurice Horter. We ended up with 16 on 4 faults, and of course on down the order we go right the way down to rank all of the 47 that we saw take to the ring in this FEI two-phase special. Well, we've seen the scene be set for the FEI Tour to come here from the Fort Worth International. We hope you'll join us for tomorrow night's FEI Welcome, where we'll have our first jump-off format competition for these 31 riders and see exactly who will be going in the best of form to the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Fort Worth on Saturday night here in Texas, presented by Lugano Diamonds. But until then, we'll hand it down to the bowl for awards and look forward to talking to you again in the very near future.
Katie Laurie in third place aboard Cos Van Heist as our top three mount up for our round of honor coming up here next this evening. Round of honor coming up, led by Caitlin Campbell and Pelina de Lasco. It'll be Connor Swale following in second with Count Me In. Katie Laurie aboard Cos Van Heist in third, followed by Pete Petchenik and Annabelle in fourth. Kristen Vanderveen, Bull Run's Prince of Peace in fifth, along with Juan Carlos Garcia and Habab W in sixth. Peter Petchenik finishing in seventh aboard Wannabe CS, and Vanessa Mannix and Kitty Van der Husser in the eighth place. So here are your top eight from our special two-phase competition here, $37,000 class, with our winner Caitlin Campbell taking the second lap of honor here, and hopefully a winning fist bump here at Fort Worth. So we'll get our winner back up on the winner's podium for a chat with Jack Nash in just a moment.
So, Caitlin, congratulations.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good.
I just want to make one thing clear. You are not a Texan.
No, this is my first time ever showing in Texas.
Well, you've just unseated some other Texans that have been up here today.
I think we're going to be driving back a little more often after that result.
Those are fighting words, probably.
Yeah.
Tell me about your horse. Tell me about your ride. What was your plan going into this first FEI competition here this week?
The horse I did, Polina, I know her really well. She's really an indoor specialist because she's really fast across the ground, and she's about an inch above the jumps, but she knows where her legs are. So I just let her go tonight, and she was jumping fantastic.
So it was her plan to win, and you were along for the ride.
That's always how it is.
Well, that's fantastic. We look forward to more of it this week. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Caitlin, and thanks, Jack. We'll be going to work on setting our final course of the night. We should be underway at 8:30.